And Michael, there is something that Joe Biden did and described today that I have to say I do not understand. It is an art of statecraft in foreign relations that I find really obviously tricky. He's condemning Vladimir Putin and condemning what Vladimir Putin does with his citizens, does around the world, tampering with our election, all of that. At the very same time, he has successfully, over the last few days, negotiated with Vladimir Putin an agreement to extend the START treaty for 5 years. And I'm sitting here not knowing how that is done. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's going to listen to you now who doesn't know how that is done. How does the president do that? He's not the first president to have these dual tensions going on in dealing with a country. But how did he get it done this time, and how is it done generally?
Well, I think the president is very keen on working wherever he can with our democratic allies and partners around the world to achieve success. But when it comes to our adversaries, he's not shy about imposing costs or confronting them or competing with them when necessary in all domains, military, diplomatic, economic, technological, you name it. But where there are shared interests, he will pursue them vigorously. And he's shown that with his approach to Russia. So he has approached Putin from a position of strength, saying he won't hesitate to impose costs, which could include sanctions and other measures. But at the same time, it's clearly in our national security interest to have a modicum of strategic stability between our two nations. And that includes limiting a nuclear arms race by keeping in place those limitations on nuclear weapons and delivery systems that the New START treaty provides. So he has juggled both of those things in the opening days of his administration. And I think that will presage his policy towards other competitors as well.
What do you think is going to happen on Alexei Navalny's case in the Biden White House? What do they do with that file? How do they press the case with Vladimir Putin?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to Alexei Navalny and other human rights cases in Russia, I think the administration, you've already seen, the administration is not shy about calling out human rights abuses when they see them. President Biden has called for the unconditional release of Navalny. I think they won't be hesitating to use tools like sanctions and other instruments to hold Russia accountable, to impose costs and consequences for their actions. And I think we'll see that with Russia, with China, across the board. You know, already the president has spoken about China's horrific human rights abuses as well. And yet he has indicated a willingness to work with China, say, on climate change or other issues where our interests might align.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.